I'm here with Laura Kalabitter, and she is the owner of Planted. It's Planted, period.
Planted, period.
And obviously, plants is what you guys do here.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Planted.
Well, we are a tropical house plant shop. We also have some fun cactus and succulents, but essentially anything that you can grow inside your home is what we specialize in here. We like to get a little bit funky and cool, have some different varieties, things that maybe might seem a little bit more common, but have a unique color or some sort of cultivar that you can't just find easily anywhere else.
Yeah, it's a lot of different plants here, and I see here that this is your rare collection. I guess tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so rare collector essentially means that it might be a little bit harder to acquire, it might take longer to propagate. Either way you look at it, it's a little bit more unique, a little bit more difficult to find or difficult to add to your collection from just an accessibility standpoint.
Sure.
So we try to have as many of these plants as possible because as our plant collectors mature from some of the more common plants, they're then looking for that next exciting thing. So some of these plants oftentimes aren't even seen in person very easily or are often only seen on social media platforms. So to be able to offer these plants in person, especially some of the really, really hard to find ones, is just part of what brings me personally a lot of joy. I would say that this area here is probably for about maybe 5 to 10%.
Sure.
And those are the 5 to 10% that I like to nerd out the most with. So.
Yeah, because I mean, houseplants, I feel like post-pandemic or during the pandemic, like it really exploded.
It was crazy.
As far as something that, it's, interesting, something interesting you can do inside your house.
Yep.
That's going to bring a different kind of life into your home, right?
Yeah, well, and there was a lot of kind of community experienced struggle through the pandemic, and so having something that you can care for and kind of take your mind off of, or perhaps bring you a little bit of that respite or emotional healing, or there's lots of different reasons people like to have houseplants, but it was definitely a really big time period for the houseplant industry. Yeah,
and I guess, have you found that like people are getting over their kind of brown thumb? As far as like getting into the amount of people I've heard, I can only keep, I can barely keep my plants alive.
Yes.
And that's something that's, getting a little bit better at, I guess?
Well, there's always going to be somebody coming in saying, I kill every plant, what can I have that I'm not going to kill? And I always tell people that if you haven't killed a plant yet, you're not trying hard enough. And so it's all about trying to find the plant that is best suited for your environment in your either home or office or wherever you plan on placing a plant, and also just your lifestyle. I tend to be a chronic underwaterer, so I need plants that are going to survive a little bit of neglect. Obviously, I have a lot of plants here to care for, so when I get home, I'm like, you gotta wait a second. I gotta just, sit down, have some dinner, like chill out for a second.
Sure. So what do we got here? I see it's the planting bar, huh?
We have the planting bar, the potting bar. This was inspired, the potting bar. This was inspired actually by another plant shop in Des Moines, one of my favorite plant shops, the Art Terrarium, if I have to do a little plug. I love them.
Plug 'em. Yeah.
And I thought it was a really, really great concept because when you're buying a plant, oftentimes you need a pot to go with it. And sometimes, especially if you don't know what the root system looks like, or maybe that plant is in poor soil, we like to offer the ability to repot those plants on the spot so that people can make decisions on the fly versus getting home being like, oh shoot, this pot is too small or too large, given the root system of the plant, or perhaps they really needed a more customized soil. So we do also blend our own soils here to accommodate different plant types, including cactus and succulent. We basically amend these soils to be more appropriate for the plants that require them.
All plants are different. They all need different nutrients. So
no soil is created equal, and a one-size-fits-all hardly works for anybody ever.
Right. I also, the thing that hits me the most the first time you walk in here is just the smell.
I was going to say the smell.
I just love like that earthy, but also there's a lot of other fragrant that's happening with it as well.
We get that a lot when people come in, they say, oh, it smells so nice in here. And I say, well, what does it smell like? I'm so used to being in here that I get a little desensitized.
Right.
So it's really, really cool because it does feel very earthy when you come in.
Oh, yeah. Another thing that you guys do really well here is you do a lot of work with local artists as well. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that was really critical to opening the shop, especially coming from a place where I experienced just that dynamic of you have a great idea or you have a product, but perhaps you don't have a big enough concept to actually justify your own retail space.
Sure.
So a lot of the times for artists, that's the case. Like they might have a studio, but it's not necessarily approachable for the public, but yet they have really incredible work. And oftentimes art is better purchased and experienced in person.
Yeah.
So even though online shopping is awesome, it's not always the best way to consume or purchase artwork. Same with plants.
Sure.
So it seemed like a natural fit to have artists in our space because just like we were allowed to pop up in different locations as we were getting established, I love the ability to give back and also have artists have a space here, whether it's in our gallery here that rotates monthly or we have artists in our shop selling products on consignment, so that we've always got something kind of churning and changing with the art around.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because of course you have like a sea of green with all the plants and then just the pops of color that is coming through the art. And the art is, of course, really varied, a lot of different styles, a lot of different mediums, and it's really, really interesting. This
space would not be the same without art. I mean, when we take down a show, it's like, oh my God. You know, this art is needed as much as the art needs the plants and people need, it's all coexisting together and it would not exist well without it.
That's great. What do we got in here?
That's our buddy Kevin. Kevin's a newer planted family member. He likes to give a lot of sassy and salty side eye. Chameleons, he's a veiled chameleon, and most chameleons are not overly handleable or friendly. They're actually very private. They camouflage and try to keep hidden. So chameleons don't really want to be seen, but believe me, they see you all the time. But Kevin has grown quite comfortable in his new enclosure that we created for him, trying to mimic his natural environment in the cloud forests of Yemen. So he's got quite the sophisticated environment in there that is making him pretty happy, and so he's gotten a lot more adventurous and bold with being out and open in the public.
Oh, wow.
I thought what a great creature to have in a public space is one that doesn't want to be seen. The only pet that doesn't want you to know that it exists is the one that we're having here, but he's actually pretty great.
Oh, that's great. I mean, this whole space is great. I love, as far as being able to use that reused space. This has been a building that didn't see a lot of love, and now it's springing with life.
Yeah, this space looked a lot different before all the walls came down essentially. And it was exciting because we really didn't know that half of it was here. So the archway that we just walked through was something that we discovered as pieces and parts were being taken down. The brick walls being exposed some were known and some weren't. So it was really exciting to be like, you know what? We need to leave this.
Leave it. And it's a wonderful blend of kind of industrial with the natural and the artistic as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Laura, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you for visiting.
This is a wonderful shop and something that I'm really excited that you guys are here in Dubuque, because getting this kind of life in people's homes is pretty important.
It's awesome, and we're so excited to be here. We see new faces every single day, and we see a lot of familiar faces, which is really, really cool too. So there's a lot of relationship building. One of my mottos was always building relationships through horticulture, and I'm excited that this is my avenue to get to do that.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for having us in.
Thank you.